Weaver Nation, thank you so much for watching. Look, this quick 10-minute video on the future of clinical research. And I just wrapped up a podcast with Chris, and we were discussing a lot of things in the economy. And one of the things that CEO of Microsoft was recently on a podcast and was talking about agentic AI, which is basically agency work. And if you think about the mundane tasks that you do in research, whether you're a coordinator, a PI, a CRA, whatever your role is, you have mundane tasks, like logistically speaking, and then you have higher order tasks. And pretty quickly, at least we have the potential to incorporate agentic AI into some of the more mundane aspects of clinical research, which could free up, in theory, more valuable time for the human employees. The real question is, and the question I know you guys and gals want to know and why you're watching is my job safe? And I don't claim to have all the answers, but I have opinions. And I listened carefully to podcasts like where CEO of Microsoft gets on and discusses how he will be able to do more with less workforce maybe, and then but pay his existing workforce more and having more agentic AI helping in the day-to-day tasks that are kind of repetitive processes. When you get into more of the higher order things, for example, a coordinator and a patient. Patients are not always compliant with their diaries, with taking their medication, with coming into visits. Patients are very good at ignoring automated text. People are very good at ignoring emails that are appear to be from machines or systems, but they don't necessarily ignore a human being when they feel like it's a genuine conversation and there's genuine care on the other end. And you can't program care into an AI. So, and this applies to not just coordinators, it apply and the coordinator patient relationship. It applies, in my opinion, to the CRA CRC relationship. It applies to the project manager, to the PM of a CRO, to the PM of a sponsor relationship. While the mundane can be delegated to machines and with adult supervision, the care and the what's called skin in the game, meaning our stakes are mutually aligned. So if this project fails, it's bad for me too. I think we're going to have more of that in this space, particularly when it comes from the sponsor and CRO relationship, and definitely from sponsor, CRO, and vendor relationship. The sites are a little different because the sites are still the ones engaging with patients. So their care has to go be directed at the patients first. And then with enough supervision, I believe the oversight from the sponsor and the CRO and maybe some of the vendors or the data-driven supervision and analytics will trickle down to managing sites better. And we do see the site networks getting more into tech, building their own tools, getting more data-driven analytics, data-driven metrics, making decisions based on analytics. And we're obviously seeing that already. But I think the future of research, there's a lot of transformation. And of course, AI is a big one. So imagine an AI that can design protocol, analyzing historical trial data to improve recruitment. There are already companies doing this. AI might soon be able to predict the clinical trial outcomes before the first patient is even enrolled. So they'll have better intel as far as what the clinical trial outcomes should look like. Wearable devices, which is not new, could replace a lot of the activities that are done on site, although they haven't really done so yet. They've currently been like when they subject patients are given Fitbits or Apple Watches, they're really tracking just extra data, right? Like sleep data, heart rates. It'd be interesting to see how much more data we can get, but how much more of a burden that actually imposes on the patient. Because you would think the Fitbit's passive. Well, it's not truly passive. It's patient has to charge it. Patient has to maybe take it off when they shower. Patient has to make sure it's synced. Patient, it's not a passive endeavor for the patient. Patient has to first of all make sure they wear it. So it's not the same as coming to the clinic and just sitting there and letting the CRC do the vitals and ECG. Like while when the patient's there, they basically surrender, do what you got to do while we're here at the visit. Then I could go home and truly be passive. And they're getting compensated for their time on site. They're not getting compensated for the burden they endure when they're at home. Now you can do a virtual visit and compensate them for that, but that's no longer a passive endeavor either. So AI, there's a lot that AI can do, but there's also a lot of limitations. And it ultimately boils down to the patient burden. And I think it boils down when you remove the patient from the equation, when you're just talking about the other stakeholders, site zero, sponsors, vendors, it boils down to having actual care and concern for the project itself. Patient recruitment, I've already predicted in the past, you're going to get passive leads. Passively, sites will get patients scheduled on their calendars. AI for monitoring, already being used in in some cases, not many. Huge savings there. Um, but again, you're not getting rid of the CRA. It's more like a co-pilot. I look at the AI now as being more of an assistant to the CRA because, again, coming back to this element of care, the CRA will, the AI will show the CRA where the site's not compliant. Now the CRA will go and not send their AI to do it. The CRA will go meet with the coordinator and have a human-to-human discussion on let's retrain you. Let's retrain you on we noticed that you're failing here. What are some ways I can help? It's more of an empathy-driven activity. Now, you can argue in the distant future, maybe the AI and the CRC are humans, but then those AIs will have to have some component of empathy and compassion because there still is a patient at the end of the day. Unless the patients become AIs too, which they discuss in silico studies, then all this changes. But I think ultimately there's human beings enrolled in these studies. You still need human beings at the stakeholder levels. And doesn't necessarily mean a reduction of workforce. The optimist can look at this as more studies, more opportunities because of things like real world evidence. So the EHRs, electronic health records, claims, registries, you can actually design trials a lot quicker now by leveraging this data. FDA approvals, especially maybe with this new administration, they're going to probably demand real world evidence alongside the randomized controlled trials. So we might actually get more studies this way. Predictive analytics like patient dropouts, etc., which I think you still need humans to combat those things. Decentralized trials, which has been definitely a hype, but really it's allowing and improving access to trials for reduced geographic barriers. I think you still need humans in those regards. Personalized medicine, obviously huge. I can do a whole hour-long podcast on that. I'll probably have some experts from that space. And I think it's the human factor really that keeps most of us in the industry employable. And I do want to stress and emphasize, become a generalist. And the future is collaborative. Partnerships between all these stakeholders that I discussed, vendors, sponsors, sites, CROs. You're going to need more caring, more empathy, and not caring in the let's sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya. It's more of this is a project that's important to us. Yes, we have tools and AI, but that frees up more of our time to troubleshoot and to be proactive about what we can do. In many ways, the human will become more of like an artisan than a AI because right now the way we're working is humans are pretending to be AI in order to not make errors when they're entering data, in order to not make errors when they're doing a patient visit. But in reality, if the co-pilot AI is handling that for the human then becomes more of an artist and making sure everything comes out to the patient satisfaction and the sponsor's satisfaction. So that's my conclusion. Of course, I'm an optimist. I want to know what you think. The future of clinical research is already here, but how do we adapt? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, and share, and please subscribe if you haven't already. 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, ad-free. Bye-bye, Guru Nation.